This is Orange Nation Overtime with Steve Infanti and Paulie Sibilia.
Welcome into Orange Nation Overtime, everyone. Alongside Paulie Sibilia, I'm Steve Infanti. Jam-packed show on the Orange Nation radio show today. We talked a lot of Cuse basketball, of course, and the hot topic of discussion right now is what is next for SU basketball, because here we are at the start of February, and it feels like there is no chance for an at-large bid, barring some sort of miracle. There is no chance for an NCAA tournament bid aside from running the table at the ACC tournament. And so we've been left to talk about what is next for this program, Paulie.
Yeah, and the bottom line is we don't know.
Yeah. We can speculate, but we don't know.
It even came up in the show. I don't know that Red's getting fired.
Yeah.
We don't know that. I would highly doubt that he's back next year, but I don't know the financials or the logistics of his contract.
Right. We do. All we have to go on is John Wildhack before the season said meaningful games in March, and this is not it, right? And so if he sticks by that, then I think they're going to have to make a move.
Like you said, it's almost to the point where they're not playing meaningful games in February.
Right. That's what it feels like.
Super close to that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Now, the players can't think of it like that, or the coaches, but I think for the fan base, that's how they do look at it, that, the regular season is over. They've got 5-6 weeks, whatever it is, until they go to Charlotte, and that's their only chance at this point to try to catch lightning in a bottle for that week in Charlotte to see if they can earn an NCAA tournament bid. We have Brandon Trish on our show today, former Cuse guard, local guy, right? Went to Jamesville DeWitt and chose to play his college ball here. And so we did ask him about J.J. Starling, who did a similar thing, growing up in Beeville and going to Notre Dame for 1 year, but then coming back here to Syracuse. We led off Brandon by just asking for his overall thoughts on this team and the state of the program at the moment.
I think it's a roller coaster, obviously. It's up and down. I think as a player, you want to be consistent. As a team, you want to be consistent. As a coach, you want to be consistent. And I think for the most part, Syracuse basketball hasn't been as consistent this year. And that's kind of like what you're seeing. And then as fans, we're not being consistent either. So we're praising the guys, and we're talking crap about the guys as well. So I think in general, the word that comes from me is inconsistency.
Yeah, and I think we saw that certainly in a 48-hour stretch. The Notre Dame game was probably the best they've played since, the Tennessee win in terms of both ends of the court. They got after it defensively. They were sharing the ball on offense. They were getting open looks. And then 48 hours later against North Carolina, it seemed like all that went away. I mean, how do you explain that, I guess, as a player and as a former player? How does that happen, where they played so well together on Saturday and then on Monday night they kind of reverted back to some bad habits?
I don't necessarily think it's bad habits. I think it's just different levels of basketball. If you compare how Syracuse played against the earlier teams, right, like the Monmouths or the teams that they beat by 20 or 30, I'm sure everyone wasn't saying, they're not passing the ball. Here's the thing. Now you get better competition. The players are bigger, longer, and maybe guys aren't as open as it seems to be. You know what I mean? So, and I noticed that from me playing. It's like, maybe that pass was easier against somebody that wasn't as athletic. Now that they're a little bit tighter on the denying the passes and stuff like that, then it makes you a little bit more stingy with the ball because you don't want to turn it over. But to your point, I think it's important to try to play the same way, because their assist this year is I think they're averaging 13 assists a game, which isn't so good. Shoot, when I played, I think my freshman year we averaged 19 assists a game, which seems like incredible in comparison to what's going on now.
What about being ready for games? In coming out slow, how much of that is on the coaches to get you ready, and how much is on the players to be ready in situations like that?
I think everything's a combination. Obviously, as coaches, you want to push the right buttons or have the right players out there who's probably going to give you that energy in the beginning. So it's figuring out what lineup you need to go to make sure the energy is high. Sometimes that might not be the best offensive lineup. That might be a better defensive lineup. That might be a slower lineup versus a faster lineup. It really, as a coach, you got to figure that out. And then as players, you got to identify what you want to do that first 5 minutes. For example, for me, I wanted to see how my shot was feeling. So if you notice, for a lot of my games, I kind of started out with a 3-pointer to see if I make it or make it. If I don't make it, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to get to the basket a little bit more, get myself a rhythm. But I think everybody should, I think it's on everybody. One, I think it's on coaches just trying to tell the guys, like, okay, this is what I want and this is what we need to do so we're able to perform the best we can the first 5 minutes. And then as a player, you got to, be able to execute it.
Right, I want to ask you about J.J. Starling, who, like you, is a local guy that chose to. I know you chose to play at Syracuse right from the jump, but he went to Notre Dame a year and then decided to come back, and he's been here for a little while now, and it seems like from the outside looking in that he might be struggling with his confidence a little bit. What do you make of his game, and I guess his game as a sophomore versus the game that you see out of him now?
I think it originally started with a shot, right? I think from watching him in high school, he had a smooth shot. His jump shot was his best attribute. He ended up becoming this, incredible fast athlete now who can get to the basket very quick. But I think that somewhere, I don't know if it was some type of surgery or whatever the case may be, but his shot kind of, lost him a little bit, even on free throws, right? But here's the thing. I think as a local product, you have a certain amount of pressure that you want to do well in general, right? Just as a Division I player. As you get older, people expect more of you. Now, just being from Syracuse, you got people that know you personally, want you to do really well. So I think he has pressure on so many different sides. I think originally that's probably why he wanted to get out of Syracuse. Like, all right, let me go to Notre Dame, so then I don't have that local pressure. And then once the opportunity, rose up where he can get back to Syracuse, he's like, you know what? I'm confident I can handle this. But we all go through it, right? I went through the pressure of feeling really great about myself. Then I've had pressures of not feeling so great. And guess what? We were winning. Imagine you not playing well and sometimes you're losing. Sometimes when I didn't play well, we won most of those games. It was just more of a me thing. Like, I could do more. So I think for him, it just, it's easier said than done, but having a consistent mindset is very important. Don't let your lows be too low and don't let your highs be too high. Me personally, I go off of this. Like, I dwell in my wins and I forget my losses. And I try to go about life like that.
You talk about pressure. I can't imagine anybody's feeling more pressure on this team from a player perspective than Kyan Anthony. It hasn't gone great for him this year. He's obviously been struggling on the defensive end. He's a freshman. It's, we heard Coach Boeheim talk about all the time that it is a transition from high school to college. Your thoughts on Kyan and the player you think he can be someday, like a year from now? What do you envision Kyan Anthony being as a player?
I think he's a really good player. I think if he did have more minutes, he would show what he can do, but it would show more flaws as well. It's like a double-edged sword when it comes to that. So Red, as a coach, he's trying to figure out, okay, what's the proper amount of minutes to play him that he does positive things, I guess, for the duration of time that he's in the game. But to me, he's a great shooter, right? He got great feel for the game where he could get to certain spots that you don't think he could get to. For me, I think I look for him to get a little bit stronger. I look for him to work on his fast twitch, so his first step is a little bit faster. So he's not able to. So you don't have to take as many tough shots. One, he's a really smart player, right? So he's used to probably being, let's say, a little less athletic than the kids he grew up playing against. He's with VJ Edgecombe, right? An elite athlete. So you go from him, who can jump over the building, to Kyan, who's more of a person that plays on the ground and has to. So I think it's a combination of him working on his athleticism, so the game becomes a little bit easier, and then that will make him a better defender as well. You know what I mean? But I think he's doing pretty well. You wouldn't want him to be shooting 50% free throws. Like, he's a way better shooter than that. You know what I mean? So again, it is pressure from his dad. Him obviously being a former great at Syracuse. But the good thing is, it's a learning curve. I'd rather learn it my freshman year than sophomore and junior year. Let's say in comparison to like JJ, you know what I mean? I'd rather go through all my pains in my freshman year, so then now I can learn and get better.
If you take your former player hat off and you were looking at Syracuse basketball at where it was and where it is now, how would you, is there a fix to this situation?
I think it's so many different changes, right? There's certain things that we didn't have to deal with that the players are dealing with now. One, in my time, right? So I only lost 25 games in my career, right? Now, I think once I kind of left, we ended up having one really great season. I think from 2015, it kind of went a little bit down. We went through violations and stuff like that. But I think there's so many different changes that you can't really pinpoint one thing. But we aren't recruiting the same athletes that we once did. So I think the players got a little less better. And let's be honest, guys aren't staying. So if we can make a collection of, let's say, teams from 2019 to 2023, if we can make a collection of 4-year players, because when I was playing, all our guys stayed 3 and 4 years. Only the top 5 picks left early, or top 10 picks. Yeah. You know what I mean? There wasn't, they could have transferred, but they didn't transfer. You know what I mean? So, although we didn't recruit the highest or the best talent, we had maybe 1 or 2 McDonald's each year. But for the most part, we had top 100, top 150. But by the time they were sophomores and juniors, let's say for me, per se, by the time I'm a sophomore or junior, you can't tell me I'm not a 5-star recruit now. You know what I mean? Because now I got the experience and things like that. So I think it's a combination of every year Syracuse is coaching a new team. So
now, Brandon. Yeah, Brandon, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm sure you're rooting for Red. You want them to succeed. You want them to win a lot of games and figure this thing out. If they do have to move on from Red, do you have a strong feeling on what's next? Mike Hopkins' name has been thrown out there. Certainly Jerry McNamara's name has been thrown out there. There's also, fans who want to see Syracuse go outside the Orange family for the next hire. Have you given some thought to what you would want to see next if Red is not retained?
I mean, those names have been coming across just like you guys been hearing. You got like you said, Mike Hopkins. You have even a Jason Hart, right? Jason Hart, assistant coach, played at Syracuse 96 to 2000, I believe. Assistant coach at USC, so many different places, played 10 years in the NBA, or I think 10 or 12 years in the NBA. He was coaching the G League Ignite team. Now he's assistant coach at Kentucky. But you got so many different guys, G-Mac as well, right? So probably those are the top 3 Syracuse, or who has a connection to Syracuse. But to me, I'm not really necessarily thinking about, the coaches and stuff like that. I think for Red, I think Red is doing all right. You want him to do great, but I think he's only doing all right, and I think for a lot of Syracuse fans, that's not good enough, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
How much are you and your former teammates talking about the team right now? And kind of, and if you do talk to some of your former teammates, what's being said, from the outside looking in about the program right now?
Me personally, I'm always kind of siding on the side of on the positive side. You know what I mean? Of him just, I more so think of Coach as more of a human being, what he's going through and things like that. I know it's a tough time. So I'm siding if I was in that position, I would want some grace. So I'm kind of on that side of things, give him some grace. I mean, this is difficult for anybody to do. But I think of it he's a new coach with not as much experience, and you're going into a situation where you probably need a lot of experience to be able to coach these guys.
Well said from Brandon Trish. Always great catching up with him, and he put it very well there that, we all got to remember collectively that, Red's a human being. He's got a family, and it is difficult what he's going through right now, I'm sure.
And I also don't think any player, if they don't like what's going on, is going to be honest to us right now. They're all.
It's a tough spot.
It's a brothership.
Everybody's in a tough spot. Yeah.
Brothership, a brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Yeah, a brotherhood of
This
players.
was an unpeccable show until that happened.
Yes, my English is not great. Apparently, my science isn't very much better. If you listen to our radio show, but yeah, no, like he's not going to say anything, and that's all I'm saying. If fans want to go at each other on the internet, it's fine. But like I was saying earlier, Elijah Hughes, John Gillen, for example, have supported the coach, and the fans are turning on them. It's not cool.
And it is, it does seem like it's inevitable if it continues to move in this direction that a change will be made. And, Brandon didn't want to touch that question. I completely understand that about what comes next for the university. As you said, he's in a tough spot. The former players are in a tough spot. But it keeps coming up on our show, right? Callers, listeners, viewers, people are talking about different candidates. We did have someone call in today, a listener call in today to bring up a candidate that we've brought up on this show a few times over the course of the last couple of weeks. Take a listen.
I'm just curious. Not to go back in time, but I know Hop's voice from Liverpool. He's a local guy. I always wanted to see him take over. I know, everybody wanted Boeheim to retire earlier than he did, and he stuck around a little too long, in my opinion. I hate to have coaches in waiting because it seems like it never, ever materializes, whether it's at the high school level or college level here locally. And I'm just wondering, I know he's in the pros now. Would he have any interest? And how would you guys feel about him, since he was one of the top recruiters for Boeheim and does know the Northeast? I'd love to see him come back and give it a try rather than just pay somebody and, throw a few beans over your shoulder and hope it works out. I would rather have a guy that knows the area, knows the program, and knows the recruiting. I think he could do very well if he wanted to. That's my opinion anyway. I'll hang up and listen to you guys.
All right, Joe.
He said Hop's wife was from Liverpool. Everybody in the chat is losing their mind that Hop isn't from Liverpool. Hop is from California.
Right. Yes, and that was one of the reasons he pointed to why he wanted to go to Washington, was to be closer to his family and his father in particular, who was dealing with some medical stuff. Do I think he would be interested? Yes, I think he would be interested.
I do too. I also here's the thing with Hop. I get the people that want a fresh start. I get that. It would not be a fresh start. But the one thing I think Hop has over everybody else, and I've said this multiple times, is he has spent more time preparing for this job than anybody else could possibly have been prepared for a head coaching job anywhere.
Yes, and I do think it would play very well with the alums, the former players. He was obviously very popular for a long period of time on the bench. He coached a lot of great players. And so if you're talking about NIL and you want to re-energize not only the fan base, but re-energize the alums, that is one hire that could potentially do that, especially with the former players. I don't know how it would play to the fan base at large. I think that there are certainly some fans that really, really want him. Joe is in that category. I think there are others that want the fresh start, as you pointed out. But I think that it would – I can't say for sure that it would be unanimous among the former players, but my guess is the former players, by and large, would throw their support behind Hop. That is my guess.
I tend to agree with you on that, and I don't know. I don't think winning at Washington is easy. That is not an ideal position to be a head basketball coach to start. Because, remember the coach prior to him was getting like #1 recruiting classes in the country, and wasn't
back-to-back years.
Yeah, he had the Markel Fultz, I remember, and he lost. I don't know what it is up there. It's just a matter of what the university wants to do. Do they want to stay they can't listen to the fans.
Well, I know you say that, but
on the head coaching decision, you cannot
that can't be the ultimate reason. But I think you have to take everything into account.
If you listen to the fans, people will. No matter who the next head coach is, they're going to have to win to get the fans back.
So if you're separating fans from donors, then okay. But you need
but you can't go on.
You need the NIL people on board.
Yes, they can't listen to the outside buzz. You can't listen to the social media. You can't listen to the callers that call this show. You got to make the decision based on what you think is going to
So we talked about the list of factors, right? I think it's down on the list, but you have to take it into account, in my opinion, because attendance, NIL.
But if he wins, I said this about Red. If Red had turned it around, everybody would be back.
Correct, but it would be helpful to have everyone on board initially to help with NIL attendance, to help with the winning.
I think people will come if Hop comes out.
I think so too, but that is a factor.
Hop is a win the press conference type
Absolutely,
of guy.
100%. That's
win the offseason.
I think it would re-energize at least the alumni base within the program. The former Cuse players. I think it would energize them. I think it would energize some of the fan base. Yes. Maybe not the entire fan base.
Yeah. But the bottom line is coaches can't listen to the fan base. Administrators can't listen to the fan base. You listen to the donors, that's a different world. You can't listen to the buzz on radio and Twitter and the most vocal people you can't listen to. Sorry to say that. You can't listen to me. What I just said about Hopkins, the positive things, if they use any of that, they're idiots. You can't listen to me. You can't listen to any outside noise.
I think you got to take it all into account.
You have to be in a vacuum and make the right decision.
I do think Mike Hopkins makes a lot of sense, Paulie. You brought up the fact that, Jason Hart is a former Cuse player who's an assistant coach right now. Jerry McNamara, obviously just down the road at Siena. He's had a successful 2 years there. If they go inside the family, I think those are the three guys they'd be picking between. If they go outside the family, they'll have a lot of other options. And, I don't know what they're going to do, but they ultimately, the most important thing is they find the right man for the job.
Yeah, and I don't envy anybody in this situation. So it's just a matter of they've got to get it right.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see a move made for a while, right? Until the end of the season, and
maybe a little before the tournament,
correct,
or when the technical mathematical elimination is.
Announced that he won't be back. He could finish out the year. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But as you said, it's everybody's in a tough spot here at the moment. You have a kicker for us?
I don't.
You don't have a kicker?
No.
National Vacuum Day?
Yeah, it is.
You told us that on the Orange Nation radio show.
I'm burned out after the show today.
You brought up pot pies on the show yesterday. How was the pot pie?
It was delicious. I ate it with a spoon. There was no residual pot pie left in the paper. Those used to be like tin-foil when I was a kid. Now it's more of a paper product.
It's probably more environmentally safe.
And it somehow survives the oven.
Yeah.
And I didn't microwave. You can't microwave that. You got to let it get brown.
Yeah.
And I put a little butter on top so it browned nicely.
You said it wasn't as filling as you were hoping for.
Oh, no, dude, it's this big. Yeah. It was that big.
What's on the menu tonight?
Chicken thighs. I took out to thaw a little
nice
low sugar barbecue sauce. No sugar barbecue sauce, actually.
Dinner at Paulie's place.
You ever had no sugar sauces?
I have. Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah, you can't even tell the difference.
Yeah, and it's
not like it's not like those Impossible burgers where people it tastes just like it did. It doesn't. It tastes like barbecue sauce.
All right. Well, you enjoy that. Enjoy your dinner tonight. Take a deep breath. Everybody's got to take a deep breath. We're out of time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. For Paulie, I'm Steve. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.